Welcome to the second video of Authentication series. In our first video, we dived into the basics discussing authentication, authorization, and types of authentication factors, and more. Now, in this video, we are delving specifically into basic authentication and exploring how to implement it in Node.js. But before we start, let's clear up one thing. Basic authentication isn't your run-of-the-mill username and password setup. Oh no, it's part of the HTTP specification. And because it's baked into the HTTP specs, all the major browsers have native support for it. You might have seen this screen in Chrome or Safari, the browser's way of saying, hey, who goes there? So how does the browser know when to whip out that authentication pop-up? It is all controlled by the server's response. Picture this. You try to access a protected URL. The server checks for an authentication header on the request. Finding none, it sends back a specific response like a 401 unauthorized status code. But wait, there's more. It also includes a special header called www authenticate with the value set to basic. This tells the browser, hey buddy, time to show that login pop-up. And that's how the magic happens. Now, when you enter your credentials and hit submit, the browser works its encoding wizardry using base64 to encode those precious details and then sends them off in the authorization header of the same request. The server receives this, decodes the header, verifies your username and password, and if all's well, then it grants you access. It's like a secret handshake of the digital world. But here's the kicker. Basic authentication sends those credentials in plain text. Yup, you heard it right. Like shouting your password across a crowded room. So if you are using basic authentication, you better slap on some HTTPS for that extra layer of security. We are talking about locking that door and bolting it twice. Now let's see how can we cook up some basic authentication in Node.js. I have whipped up a simple Node.js application running on localhost 3000. When you try to access this URL, the browser prompts you for your credentials. Enter the wrong ones and it's a no-go zone. But punch in the correct values and you are in. Like Flynn. Taking a peek under the hood, we have got an express server listening on port 3000 with a middleware handling our basic authentication. This middleware decodes the authorization header, checks the credentials, and either grants access or sends back the authenticate header, letting the browser know it's time to show the login pop-up. And there you have it, folks. Basic authentication in all its glory. I have pushed the code to GitHub, so feel free to check it out. If you have any question or comments, drop them below. Happy coding, and I will catch you in the next one.